FOMO.
My name is Patrick J. McGinnis, and I'm a FOMO Sapiens. And since you're here, I'm going to bet that you are too. And when you're like us and Monday comes around, you don't dread the new week. No, you wake up every Monday morning knowing that this week might just be the best one yet. This is FOMOnday, the snackable show that starts your week right with hot takes, life hacks, listener mail, and even some FOMO therapy. Hey everybody, welcome back to FOMOndays, the snackable companion show to FOMO Sapiens, which of course will be back on Thursday with our final best of episode of the season break. Happy FOMOnday. I'm your host, Patrick J. McGinnis, venture capitalist by day, author and podcaster by night, and FOMO Sapiens 24/7. So I just wanted to check in with you before we launch into season 10. Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about what's been going on my side of things this summer, and then talk about what is coming up in season 10. So that is the goal for today. It's been interesting. I got to tell you, this summer has been a lot in a good way. You know what? It's almost like too many good things. I think back to the summer 10 years ago. I had this crazy summer where I went to this wedding in England, and I managed to get tickets to Wimbledon by lining up at 5 a.m, which is kind of fun to do, actually. Much more fun than it sounds. Then I went to this crazy wedding. Then I went to this boat race called the Henley. I wore a suit and drank Pim's cups in the sunshine. And it was this amazing 2 weeks in England. It was sunny every day, which is like never happens. And I just was like, this was the great English summer. And I'll never have a better summer. And then somehow or another, this summer it's been a great summer. I have to say, I'm very thankful. I started out, I had to go to Georgia, the Republic of Georgia, for work. I was working with something with the government there, and I stopped in Istanbul on the way. And you guys may know this or not, but I used to go to Istanbul a lot for my prior job when I worked in private equity. I think I went there 30 times in 5 years. So I went back and I saw one of my good friends, and it was just good to be in Istanbul. I hadn't been there in ages. It's a beautiful place, so much history. I happened to run into some friends randomly from Mexico that saw that I was there on Instagram. Thank you, Instagram. And then I continued to Georgia, and I went to there for work, but I managed to have a long weekend. I got kind of lucky. And I was there 6 years ago on vacation in Georgia, and I went to this hotel called the Rooms Hotel, both in Tbilisi and in the mountain area called Kazbegi. And it was it was the depths of winter, and when I arrived, I was with a good friend of mine. We were traveling together. We like to go to these kind of different countries and climb and stuff like that. I love mountain climbing. And anyway, we were in the car going from the airport to the hotel in the mountains. It's like a 3-hour drive, and it broke down at 1 a.m. in the middle of nowhere. And we called the hotel up in Tbilisi and talked to this woman at the front desk called Marie. She helped us out, and we all became Facebook friends. And then we got to the hotel, and it was really amazing. This guy Sasha took us up hiking, and it was amazing. And then this other guy Gio came back with us in the car and told us some really cool stories and interesting stories about the country and his own life, and became Facebook friends with those guys. Well, I go back, and it turns out Gio is now the head of F&B at this hotel. Marie is the general manager. And so these are people that I didn't see for years, and we just picked up. They took me hiking and did all this crazy stuff, and it was so good to see them. It was just special. And so I had a really amazing time there. Then I came back, and I think I told you guys, or maybe you saw it on Instagram, this movie that I was in where, it's a small role, but it's a documentary about Dogecoin. It's called This Is Not Financial Advice. I taped it nearly 2 years ago. And at one point I was on the cutting room floor like Kevin Costner in The Big Chill, but they put me back in, and they premiered it at the beautiful Tribeca Film Fest. And I got to go, and I got to, for like a hot second, walk on the red carpet and see the film. And I loved it. It was so good. It's going to be coming out who knows when, because it's Hollywood and everything's messy right now, but they're in talks about where it will go next, and I will tell you all about it. But that was kind of amazing. Then I headed over to Stockholm from Brilliant Minds. I'll talk about that later, but I did that last year, and I was taking notes the whole time, learning so many things, and it was beautiful. And then I continued on to Tallinn, Estonia, to recover for a couple of days, and then headed out to a wedding in Greece. I was in Athens. I was in the island of Hydra, spelled Hydra, where there are no cars. You have to get around on a burro or in a water taxi or walking around. And it was like my first real vacation where I didn't do very much. I didn't even look at my email. I read the book On the Road by Jack Kerouac. It was amazing. So I just feel great. I'm excited to be back. I feel ready to go, ready for season 10. And I just want to call this the great European summer of 2013. That's what I'm calling 2023. Jeez. That's what it is. And so I'm just glad to be back stateside now and ready to work on season 10 with you. So we're going to talk about season 10 in a second, right after this break. FOMO. FOMO. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to my little story about my vacation and my travels. I appreciate it. I hope it's interesting. And if you are interested, by the way, just check it out on Instagram, Patrick J. McGinnis, because you know what happens is I'm in these places. You might be there too. And if you send me a note, maybe we'll even meet each other. I love meeting listeners. Do it all the time. Love hearing from you in general. So please let me know. Listeners send me great recommendations, by the way, and I will send you my recommendations so we can all be friends that way. Patrick J. McGinnis, check it out. All right, season 10. So I just want to recap season 9. If you will recall, one of the things I talked about during season 9, especially on FOMOndays, was the idea of got to be a little audacious in 2023. And the reason why is because, FOMO Sapiens is a reflection of what's going on in my head, right? It has to be. That's the whole point, is to share my ideas with you, get ideas from guests, hopefully get ideas from you. But the show always kind of reflects where my head is at. And for me, 2023 was like, I need to do some stuff this year. I need to be a little bit more audacious, especially after the risk mitigation phase of the pandemic. It's time to turn things around, okay? And so that's what the whole season was about. People who confidently go after what they want. It started with David Hogg, the activist on gun violence. We talked to Diego Saez-Gil, multiple serial entrepreneur who has been through a lot of ups and downs, by the way. We talked to Sheena Iyengar, professor at Columbia, about how to really think big. That's what her new book is all about, and she's fantastic. We talked a lot about AI. You guys are probably like, Patrick, comment with the AI. I can't. I love AI. I'm obsessed. FOMO. We talked to Felix Salmon about the Phoenix economy, what's happening next. And we talked to, at the end of the season, just a couple weeks back, Ram Baitiang, Filipino entrepreneur, total serial entrepreneur, many ups and downs, big thinker, audacious guy, all the things. All right, so that was season 9, audacious. Well, audacity, you can't be audacious every day of the week because you get tired. And what I'm thinking about in season 10, as the theme, get ready, drum roll, is crush it without getting crushed. Now, why? Why do I say that? Well, because that's where my head is at right now, especially after all this travel. I'm like, I'm tired. I want to crush it, but I don't want to be crushed all. I want to be exhausted. And so I am really making a commitment to my own physical and mental well-being. I want you to do it too. And the people we're going to be talking to, I got to tell you something, they talk about these topics, and we're going to get some really interesting guests. I've been working hard on this for you. Now, the thing about all this, why, again, it's like how to crush without getting crushed, because a lot of us were very out of balance during the pandemic. And then the summer after, it was like the revenge summer, and then it was revenge travel and lots of revenge. And the thing is, if you want to be audacious and build new things, you can't be super tired and all over the place all the time. You got to be a bit more zen. And so the crush it without getting crushed, it's kind of like, go with me on this now, everybody. And if anybody gets offended, tell me about it. But it's like Genghis Khan, but zen, if that makes sense. Genghis Khan conquered like most of Europe and all of Asia. The guy was running the whole thing and did a lot of good, by the way. He gets a bad rap, and obviously there was a lot of carnage, but there were some good things too. You can read books about that. Actually, I read a whole book about Genghis Khan and the nice things that he did. But we don't want to be Genghis Khan, like killing everybody. We want to be Zen. So take the Genghis mindset of domination, add the Zen in, and you will be crushing it without getting crushed. So that's the whole mindset. So who are we going to be talking to? Well, let me start with our season premiere. So I have this friend, Mary Pilon. She's a writer for the New York Times and other places over the years who covers sports. Recently writing about pickleball, actually, which is kind of fun. But she has also exposed some crazy, crazy stuff in the sports world, like the Larry Nassar insane gymnastics scandal with the sexual abuse of young gymnasts. And in her latest work, she has co-written a book with Kara Goucher, who was an Olympian. She made the pedestal at a number of marathons, and she was part of this elite program at Nike, this running program that it turned out was actually very abusive. And she stepped up and she took on this system. And so this episode actually did a double episode because I hadn't planned on it, but as we got into the conversation, I was just amazed at everything they were talking about. And so therefore, I have a double episode with them to start. And talk about crushing it without getting crushed. I mean, she did get crushed, actually. The system that she was in was crushing her, and she found a way to come back from it. And it's just a totally interesting story, too, because it's kind of about like this private club mentality. She's in this very exclusive running program that everybody wants to be in, and they use that to manipulate her and convince her she was wrong about the things she was suffering, and she found a way back. So I think it's a great story of resilience that we can all learn from, and they're just great guests. Kara and Mary are so smart and thoughtful, and so you're going to love that. I love that episode. It's not an easy episode. And in fact, especially if somebody who's been listening has suffered abuse, it's going to be upsetting. But what's great about this is that Kara shares her road back and gives us advice to help other people. And I think, and she's a total FOMO Sapiens too. So that's a great one. Now we move on to, and I'm still working out the order, everybody, but I generally have a sense of what I want to do. Agapi Stassinopoulos. Now, I met Agapi through Anastasia Seabohm, who has been on the show, by the way. And she runs Brilliant Minds. So she's a brilliant mind herself. And Agapi, I met her through Anastasia. We start chatting, and I just vibe with her. She's amazing. Now, what I didn't realize at the time, I have learned, is she actually is Ariana Huffington's sister. So, what a family, right? Agapi herself is an author. She's done everything. Was in showbiz for a while. She does these incredible meditations that she records. You can buy them. And I've been listening to them, and she has so much wisdom. So the episode with her is really about positioning yourself to be sustainable, and she gives us a lot of tips about that. She's so thoughtful. She's just a beautiful human being, and so because I loved her as well, and because the combo was so great, we also did a double episode. So I'm trying this out. I would love your feedback. Some people have said to me over the years, Patrick, wouldn't it be great if you did longer interviews? And I've always said nobody. And at least I don't want to do longer than 30-minute show. This is for people who have a fixed attention span. I'm not going to try to hold you for 14 hours. If you want that, there are shows for you. This is a 30-minute show, but doing double episodes is something I'm experimenting with. So I would love your thoughts. We are moving on from there to Bruce Feiler, who is, he wrote Life is in the Transitions, one of my favorite episodes ever. He has a new book out. We're going to be talking about that. And it kind of takes life as in the transitions and brings it into the world of work. He's amazing. I just had a drink with him a couple months back, and I was reminded how awesome he is. So I'm very excited about him. I have not interviewed him yet, so it's coming up, and you will get that episode very shortly thereafter. We also have Bill Shufelt, founder and CEO of Athletic Brewing Company, non-alcoholic beer. I discovered that beer this year when I was doing my dry. I did 6 weeks no alcohol during Lent, which was super awesome. And thank God for Bill and his work, because I loved just being able to crack open an Athletic Brewing Company, not break my little pledge, but also enjoy a refreshing beer-like drink. It is beer, it's just non-alcoholic. It's totally awesome. I want to talk to him. His story is amazing. Have an amazing 101-year-old doctor, Dr. Gladys, coming on to talk about the secret of longevity, how to crush it without getting crushed, right? This is so good. Then I have an amazing, I don't want to tell you more. I have a guest who, I'm not going to try to tell you who he is, because he's a special, special friend of mine who, he's a venture capitalist. And, he's 35 years old. One day he wakes up, doesn't feel well, goes to the hospital. His organs fail. He had to have multiple organ failure treatments. He had to have a heart transplant. It's an incredible story. And this is somebody who I know and is a friend of mine. And he is now starting this movement to work with transplant patients that is really amazing. And he is going to tell his story. And it's an incredible story. It's a very difficult story. It's also an inspiring story. I spent a lot of time with him talking about what's going on in his life. And so we're going to tape it and share it with all of you. So that is just a flavor of what's coming down the pike this season. I got more coming at you, but I'm very excited because I think the theme here, I just feel very strongly about it. I hope you do too. So that is what we're going to do. Now listen, I do have homework for you. If you have feedback on FOMOndays, on the show, people you want to see, like people write in. Jonah Berger came on this last season because one of you wrote in. Thank you very much. So if you have ideas of people you want to see on the show, please reach out. You can find me on Instagram at Patrick J. McGinnis. You can find me on Twitter at PJ McGinnis. I'm the last person on Twitter. You can find me on email at letsconnect@patrickmcginnis.com. All right. So I will see you next week for the season premiere. All right. We're going to be talking on Monday about a topic related to the episode. And we're going to talk on Thursday with Kara and Mary. But get ready. Get ready. We're about to start season 10. FOMO. If you like today's show, please be sure to rate it and recommend it to your friends. And as always, you can find me on Instagram at Patrick J. McGinnis, on Twitter at PJ McGinnis, and on the web at FOMOsapiens.com or PatrickMcGinnis.com, where you can get all kinds of free resources to live a more decisive and entrepreneurial life. FOMO. Want more FOMO Sapiens and FOMOnday? Head over to FOMOsapiens.com, where you can listen to past episodes, learn more about the show, and find out how to advertise. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Patrick J. McGinnis and on Twitter at PJ McGinnis.